Evolution of the concept the comparative politics from Aristotle to the 17th century. Uh, in this lecture, we will cover its evolutionary background of comparative politics of the pre-modern times, that is mainly of Greeks and the Romans. So, Greek philosopher Aristotle, he introduced the topic, he introduced the concept, and he studied the constitutions of at least 158 states and classified them into a typology of the regimes, and his classification is valid till today, and he presented in terms of both descriptive and normative categories. He not only described and classified regimes and political systems in terms of other types, for example, democracy, aristocracy, and monarchy. He outlined in his study, and for that very purpose, he designed a book. So one can see Aristotle evolved a method of comparison, which was distinctive in the nature, and his comparison can be outlined in a systematic manner while outlining his studies. So there are discussions on that his formation of research problems he has outlined, and choosing the problem he collected the data. That is another, and the third one that he analyzed the data in a very scientific. So all this shows a very scientific kind of a technique, like monarchy, aristocracy, polity, then modes of operation, oligarchic and democratic, and all those. So also it divided on governance basis, and his comparison is outlined like this: that Aristotelian scheme, while like the formation of research problem, is I told it just a scientific one, like a research problem highlighted, then choosing the problem for that and collected the data and analyze that, as I told earlier, that in category A, that he formed formulation of the research problem, like he raised the question that which constitutions are more prone to revolt, or what are the causes of the political stability. And the second one was that after choosing the problem, he collected the data. So he searched from 158 states and come to the conclusion, come to the idea that there are certain kinds of states. So then he analyzed, like analyzed the data on the basis of criteria that I highlighted, that on the basis of rulers, like one, few, and many, like monarchy, aristocracy, and polity, like all these things. So Aristotelian scheme is scientific one, and it's a best example in the Greek era, which shows there was a comparative kind of politics at there, introduced by Aristotle. Then Aristotle analysis on the basis of that, is highlighted earlier, that class of structure and distribution of powers among classes, and so correlation among the other above given points with political stability and instability. We can see that the study of various constitutions of ancient Greeks were considered as a truly comparative and systematic one by natural social scientists. Aristotle used the law of limitation and the law of diffusion for that, and the law of similar causes to explain uniformities and similarities. So these Aristotelian categories were acknowledged and taken up by the Roman thinkers as well. Aristotelian method was important one, that it has certain limitations, but he has given a very important example and set example in this era. Roman thinkers. In Roman thinkers, we see the Polybius and Cicero, who considered them in formal and legalistic terms. Polybius was the first analyst to concentrate on measuring the success of the power sharing and differentiation. Uh, and we see that his methodology was important, and which he his universal history analyzed in his universal history analyzed the virtues of the Roman system. The mixed He introduced the mixed constitution that combined monarchical, aristocratic, and democratic systems compared to the Greeks, as explained by Aristotle earlier before that. So he believed a mixed constitution with the checks and balances that provide stability. So we see that concern the comparative study of regime types or reappeared later in the 15th century, introduced by Machiavelli. And in the Renaissance period, Machiavelli used the comparative method of studying in his writings. So in his book The Prince and the Discourses. So later on, French philosopher Jean Bodin undertook a comparative study of governments of various European states. So we see that the Greeks and the Romans, they were the earlier who introduced the concept of not only introduced, but they practically implemented that. So I hope you understand this lecture today in a very on a very important era, that is the evolution of comparative politics in the Greeks and Romans period.